Are there toads actually stuck in the castle walls? Or could this sign hint at a terrifying cutout enemy in the basement? Well, today, we're gonna examine every single mystery in Peach's castle, known as the most mysterious Mario location. Because while it seems normal on the surface, it's actually filled with tiny details that couldn't just be a mistake by the developers. Don't believe me? Well, let's take a look at the back door of the castle first. Now, if you just go up to it like I am, you'll notice it's a lot different from the rest of the castle. It noticeably sticks out and has a different color from the other walls here. And the door looks like it was made of cheap wooden planks just thrown together. Whereas the main entrance doors look a lot more royal and polished. This has led many fans to theorize that this is actually the spot where Bowser smashed his way into the castle to capture Peach. The idea is that the mismatched bricks and the old-looking door were just a quick patch job to cover up the giant hole left behind. It makes sense physically too. Bowser is massive compared to the other characters. He never would have fit through the main entrance, but this patch section is roughly the exact size of his model. So is this back door just a weird design choice, or was it actually a subtle hint for how Bowser broke in? Detective Bits here, back looking at a bunch of very special mysteries today, because we're gonna examine every brick, model, and pixel in Peach's castle to uncover every secret that this place has. So let's see if we can answer all of the castle's unanswered questions. Now, if we talk to the Toads in Mario 64, they'll have some pretty odd dialogue. For example, the very first Toad in the castle says this: "The princess and I, and well, everybody, we're all trapped inside the castle walls." On the surface, this text seems simple. They physically can't leave or go outside the castle. But upon closer inspection, this dialogue might hide one of the game's biggest mysteries. What if this implies that Bowser didn't just trap them in the castle, but in the walls, literally inside the bricks? This isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. Remember, the manual for the original Super Mario Bros. Explicitly states that the Toads were turned into bricks by using black magic. But then, if the Toads are the walls, who are we talking to here? A common theory suggests these are actually projections coming from the castle walls. Like, isn't it weird that the Toads are always right next to the walls and don't move at all in this game? At least not until the ending cutscene, which would make sense because that's after you freed everyone. But the strangest detail is that they turn transparent as you walk away. This isn't a hardware limitation. Other enemies just vanish instantly when you get too far, but the Toads noticeably fade. And what are the only other characters in the game that fade like this? Boos. Ghosts, leaving the true fate of the Toads disturbingly unclear. But this isn't even that bad compared to all the disturbing mysteries coming up. And legend has it that if you don't subscribe now, then ghost Toads will start to project out of your walls at night too. This next mystery is the defining question of Mario 64. The paintings. We all know them, we all love jumping in and out of them, but what are these worlds really? And do they even exist? Well, at first, the answer may seem pretty clear-cut, because if we talk to this Toad at the front of the castle once again, after this first text dialogue, he'll say that Bowser has created his own world in the paintings and walls. So, case closed, right? Well, not quite. Because if we go to Throwback Galaxy from Mario Galaxy 2, then we can see this same world existing in another game. And here, we can even talk to a Bob-omb that says he thinks he's seen you before. There's also more interesting evidence that comes from Super Mario Odyssey, because in this game, Mario uses paintings as portals to travel to various kingdoms that do actually exist. So then what is with the mysterious paintings in Peach's castle? Did Bowser conjure these worlds into existence inside the canvas? Are they simply portals to distinct real locations? Or is it something else entirely, an unknown use of some dark, unexplained magic? Now, you might point to levels like Wing Mario Over the Rainbow or Dire Dire Docks, where you can physically travel back to the castle grounds from within the levels. So does this prove that they are real places nearby? Well, still no. Why? Because every single level that allows you to physically travel back to the castle grounds shares one specific trait. None of them are paintings. These are the stages you enter by other means, like phasing through a weird wall or diving into a pit. pit, which still leaves the true existence of these paintings as one of the game's biggest unanswered questions. Now let's look at one of the more out-of-the-way locations, you can say. And I'm of course talking about the back courtyard. The first thing that feels immediately off about this place is the gathering of boos. Now in the Mario series, boos are incredibly consistent. With very few exceptions, they only appear in ghost houses or haunted mansions. So why have they gathered here in this royal garden? What if this land was an old cemetery before Peach's castle was built? And these boos are the spirits of the forgotten people buried beneath the soil. Or maybe this area doesn't even exist, and it's a twisted illusion created by the ghosts. There may be actual evidence for this too, since if you go to the roof of the castle and just look down to where the courtyard should be, yeah, as you can see, you don't see anything at all. It's just this like empty void here. And also, isn't it weird how there's this mysterious boo right outside the courtyard entrance? And if you try to go near him, he'll immediately turn around and float away, which kind of leads you to the courtyard. It's almost like he's waiting for you, specifically to lure you out the door and ambush you with the boos waiting outside. That's for sure an eerie thought, but now it's time to move upwards in the castle and go to the mysterious second floor location, because here we see a bunch of paintings all in one room. However, one of them stands out as the most mysterious one out of them all. It's this one here that shows like a night sky filled with stars, but unlike almost every other painting, you can't interact with it in any way. Sure, there are other decorative paintings, but they usually serve a cinematic purpose, like hinting at Peach's location or a warning of a Bowser trap. This makes the Starry Night painting feel distinctively out of place. People have theorized that it might have originally led to a cutout level that never made it into the game, leaving only the entrance behind. Others believe it was supposed to lead to the third floor, since the ceiling in this area uses the exact same star texture, but then Nintendo swapped this concept for the stairs during development. Fans have also noticed that the brighter stars resemble the notes to the Song of Storms from the Zelda series, so it could all just be an obscure reference. But what makes all of this even stranger is its placement. While every other painting in the room hangs on the exterior walls, this is the only one mounted on the inner brick wall, giving this painting a weird, unknown significance. I mean, it could just be a random decoration, but it really seems like there was once more meaning to this mysterious painting. Yes, perhaps there once was, but for now, we have to look at the mysterious Bowser submarine and examine its connection to the rest of the castle. Earlier in the video, we discussed how Bowser may have initially broken through the back door, but this next mystery suggests a second, more tactical method of entry. I am referring to the submarine found in the first mission of Dire Docks. This vessel is one of the most unique objects in this entire game because of its behavior, since once you defeat the second Bowser boss fight, the submarine vanishes forever, and nothing else in Mario 64 behaves this way. Even major changes like the tower in Whomp's fortress disappearing in later stars will reset if you select the first mission again, but this sub is different. So okay, how does this connect to the castle then, you may ask? Well, once the sub leaves here, this giant door underwater opens, and if you swim through it, it'll take you right back to the castle grounds. So this confirms a physical link between Dire Docks and the outside world. So why would the developers create this weird mechanic? Maybe they were trying to imply that the sub moved through the tunnel. Perhaps after his defeat, Bowser retreated to his sub and used this secret passage to flee to his final boss fight arena. Alternatively, this could explain how he captured Peach so effectively. What if it was all a two-pronged assault? Bowser may have sent a squad of minions in the submarine to breach the basement via the Dire Docks portal. This underwater invasion would have distracted Peach's guards, allowing Bowser to flank them and smash through the back door undetected. But it's never that simple, since there's a major problem with this theory. When you swim through that massive exit gate in the level, you pop out in the castle lake. But there is no door or entrance here that you would have come out of. It's not like a tiny hole you might miss, it's a giant gate that simply doesn't exist on the outside. So is this some sort of secret entrance, or are we looking at more of Bowser's dark magic? Our next mystery takes us to one of the most unsettling locations in this entire game.
and I'm of course referring to the castle basement.
Aesthetically, this area feels completely disconnected from the rest of the bright, colorful castle, which makes you question its true purpose. Is it possible that this was actually a dungeon for prisoners? That would explain why the flames resemble medieval torches, right? What about this ominous image of Bowser hanging on the wall? Was Peach trying to frighten her prisoners down here? I mean, why else would she design this area to be so intimidating? But the more peculiar mystery involves the water down here. At first glance, the shallow water seems like a minor detail, but remember, the developers intentionally made this floor partially flooded, so it's gotta mean something. One theory suggests that earlier in development, the castle was supposed to flood from the basement during the story, but this mechanic was later reworked into draining the moat. Another theory claims that the Hazy Maze cave room down here is actually the castle's sewer system. This explains the plumbing pipes on the walls, which only appear in this specific room, and the fact that Hazy Maze cave itself is grim and dirty. So is the water in the basement actually leaking sewage? It's a gross thought, but entirely possible. Ultimately, these are unconfirmed theories, but fans continue to draw their own dark conclusions about what's really hiding in the basement.
Now let's step into one of the most unusual rooms in the entire castle. The mirror room.
At first glance, it seems like a simple visual gimmick, but there may be something much darker going on here. For example, players quickly noticed a few things that didn't seem right in the reflection. The most obvious one is this painting of Snowman's Land, which is completely missing in the real world, but this could simply be a gameplay mechanic to hide the secret level entrance, right? But something that's less obvious is that if you crawl next to these pillars, your reflection doesn't always line up. Like if I kind of crawl up the pillar like that, you can see that the reflection doesn't crawl up the pillar whatsoever. Even stranger though is the door you use to enter the room. Because as you can see, the doorknob is on the left. So if I turn around, you think it would move to the right, but no, it's actually still on the left. You can barely see it there. Now the weird pillars may seem like unimportant details, but in a game where N64 hardware space was extremely limited, why use these unique pillar assets here? They appear nowhere else in the game and are arranged in a seemingly random pattern. Could they be the key to entering this parallel dimension? And as for the door, this is the only entrance we can't access in the castle. So what's hiding behind it? Is it one of Bowser's treasures there, or perhaps that's where he was keeping Peach sealed off? These inconsistencies have led to a big theory. This isn't a mirror. Rather, it's a window to a parallel universe, one we can't access. The mystery only deepens in the DS remake. Because here, if you talk to a specific toad next to this room, he mentions an ally with info is nearby. You might assume he means Wario, since his painting is here, but the toad repeats this line even if you talk to him as Wario. In a game where NPCs have different dialogue depending on your character, that's very strange. It can't be the Power Flower either. Calling an item an ally with info makes no sense. So we are left with no leads on who this ally is, and no answer to what this room actually does.
In almost every Mario game, Peach gets captured. I mean, that's kind of her thing. But in Mario 64 in particular, there's one thing that's different from the rest.
Usually, you see exactly where she's being held. Whether it's on a tower or a cage, the audience sees her location. But Mario 64 tells a totally different story, because throughout the entire game, you have no clue where Peach actually is. You search her entire castle, yet you never find the room she's being held in. This led fans to theorize about her true location, with a prominent theory stating that she is actually hidden inside the stained glass mural of herself on the front of the castle. This theory exists because there is a noticeable gap between the two panes of glass, which you can see in this diagram here. It would explain why at the very end of this game, she mysteriously appears out of thin air right in front of that mural. Also, if you take a closer look at both sides of the glass, then you'll see the colors don't exactly align. Like on the inside, you mostly see this light purple color all around Peach, but if we look from the outside, it's a lot more dark blue in color. And Peach herself looks a lot more squished from the outside too. This implies we aren't seeing one wall from two sides, but rather two distinct walls. This also backs up this dialogue where Toad says everyone is trapped in the walls, since this space is between, well, two walls. So was the game trying to imply Peach was stuck there the whole time? Or are fans just looking a bit too closely? The answer remains unknown.
But Peach's stained glass isn't the only architectural oddity that suggests something darker happening in the castle, because this next thing we're looking at may be even more mysterious.
Now, while roaming around the castle, you can come across this rather peculiar sign on the second floor. It simply states, "Shh. Please walk quietly in the hallway." You might think this is a simple statement, but it has raised so many questions. For starters, it calls the area a hallway, even though you're clearly standing in a massive gallery. So what hallway is this sign actually referencing? And why do you need to be quiet? Hallways aren't typically places where silence is mandatory, so it would make more sense if this were a library or something. What's really weird though is that if you look at literally every other hallway in Mario 64, like the Bowser painting corridor, the Boo hallway, the entrance to Dire Dire Docks, or even the endless stairs, what do they all have in common? They all share a creepy, eerie vibe in some way. So maybe this sign was originally meant for one of those areas. Perhaps you had to sneak by to avoid alerting a Boo, triggering a trapdoor, or failing to climb the stairs. Or maybe there was originally gonna be an entirely new monster in one of these hallways that was cut later in development. Something you had to sneak past, similar to the sleeping piranha plants. But that's really all we have to go off of. And if you still think that this is nothing more than throwaway text, then consider this. The signs in Mario 64 generally serve to teach the player how to navigate a 3D world. They rarely contain random flavor text and are all designed to serve a purpose, which makes this seemingly useless sign all the more stranger.
Now we come to possibly the most well-known mystery in the entire game. And even though I've already covered this in a previous video, at the start of this video I made an oath to cover every single mystery in Peach's castle, so today I'm gonna cover it again.
This leads us once again back to the courtyard, bringing our investigation full circle. And to see it, we have to go to the dead center of the courtyard and look at this main star statue. Here we can see a plaque with some sort of blurry text on it. And because of the statue's placement in the center here, it clearly holds some significance. The mystery, of course, is what the text actually says. For decades, fans have been convinced it reads L is real 2401, with L standing for Luigi, who is absent from the game. The 2401 fueled wild playground theories and magazine articles like, did you have to collect 2,401 coins? Did you have to wait for the date of February 4th, 2001? Or perhaps run around the statue 2,401 times? All these different theories represented the desperate hope that player 2, i.e. Luigi, was hidden somewhere on the cartridge, just waiting to be unlocked. However, others claim that the plaque actually reads Eternal Star. This makes more logical sense. It's a giant star statue after all, and Eternal Star fits the celestial theme of the Power Stars more, but this raises entirely new questions. What is the Eternal Star, and what's its importance in the Mario series being the centerpiece of Peach's courtyard? No one knows for sure, as this one simple, tiny, blurry plaque has caused far more questions than answers.